Hey Vikings fans, what's going on? Buckle up, because today's update might look quiet on the surface, but trust me, there's a storm building in Minnesota. We're talking hidden moves, big questions, and a few decisions that could completely reshape this team before the season even begins. At first glance, the Minnesota Vikings offseason feels almost silent. No blockbuster headlines, no massive splashes, just a calm that feels suspicious. But if you look closer, there's something brewing beneath that silence, and it could change everything for this franchise moving forward. So here's the big question I want you to think about right now. Are the Vikings playing this perfectly, or are they falling behind? Because what happens next could define the entire season. The biggest headline so far? The Vikings bringing in quarterback Kyler Murray on a veteran minimum deal. And yeah, that one raised some eyebrows across the league. A former top-tier talent, now stepping into Minnesota with something to prove. This isn't just a random move. This is a calculated gamble. Murray has had ups and downs over the past few seasons, but we all know the ceiling he brings when he's healthy and locked in. The real intrigue? He's not walking in as the guaranteed starter. Instead, this creates instant pressure and competition. J.J. McCarthy now has someone breathing down his neck, and that kind of tension? That's either going to elevate the entire quarterback room or create chaos. Now let's talk about the other move that flew completely under the radar. Cornerback James Pierre. This wasn't flashy, but it might end up being one of the smartest depth signings of the offseason. Pierre showed serious promise in limited action last season. When you look at his performance, especially in a smaller sample size, there's real upside there. And for a Vikings team that desperately needs help at corner, this could be a sneaky win. But let's be real for a second. Depth alone isn't fixing this defense. It's a patch, not a solution. And that brings us to the bigger picture. According to Pro Football Focus, the Vikings still have major holes. We're talking about 3 critical positions: center, safety, and the defensive interior. And honestly, that's not a small list. Let's start in the trenches. The defensive interior has taken a hit, with veteran defensive tackles leaving and not much proven talent stepping in to replace them. Right now, Jalen Redmond stands as the only reliable presence. And here's the concerning part: he was also the only interior defender with a solid run defense grade. That means opposing teams could look at this and see opportunity. A big one. If Minnesota doesn't address this soon, they could struggle badly against the run. And in the NFL, that's a recipe for disaster. Now shifting to the offensive line, center is another question mark. With Ryan Kelly's retirement, there's uncertainty about who takes over that crucial role in the middle of the line. Sure, Blake Brandel is an option. He's versatile, reliable, and can step in when needed. But is he the long-term answer? That's where things get tricky. The Vikings might actually value Brandel more as a utility player, a sixth man who can plug holes across the line rather than locking him into one position. And then there's safety. This one might hit the hardest emotionally for fans. Harrison Smith, a longtime leader and cornerstone of the defense, is still undecided about his future. Right now, he's technically not on the roster. And if he chooses retirement, that leaves a massive leadership void. Not just in production, but in identity. Yes, players like Josh Metellus and Theo Jackson are still there. But replacing someone like Smith? That's not something you do overnight. So the question becomes, do the Vikings gamble on youth, or do they bring in experience to stabilize that position? Now let's talk about the overall offseason grade. Pro Football Focus gave the Vikings a B so far. And honestly, that feels fair. It's not a failure, but it's not dominant either. It's a middle ground that leaves a lot of room for interpretation and a lot of pressure for what comes next. When they evaluated Kyler Murray, they pointed out the inconsistency. Over the past few seasons, he hasn't been as explosive as we once saw. The numbers reflect that. But here's the key: his ceiling is still incredibly high. If he finds his rhythm again, this deal becomes an absolute steal for Minnesota. And that's the risk-reward equation the Vikings are betting on. Low cost, high potential. It's the kind of move that can either look genius or completely backfire. As for James Pierre, the evaluation was more optimistic. His performance in limited snaps showed real efficiency and growth. An 86.2 overall grade in those snaps? That's not something you ignore. That's the kind of stat that makes you believe there's more there. And if he continues developing, the Vikings might have landed a starting caliber corner for a bargain. But again, this all comes back to projection. Potential is exciting, but it's not guaranteed. And that's the theme of this entire offseason so far. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think the Vikings are being smart and strategic? Or are they playing it too safe? Is Kyler Murray a hidden gem waiting to explode? Or just another risky move? And what position do you think the Vikings need to fix first? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's debate this like real fans. And if you're loving these Minnesota Vikings updates, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with every Vikings fan you know. Because trust me, this offseason might look quiet now, but something big is coming, and you don't want to miss it.